Hey everybody, Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here. I know a lot of you saw the Starlink satellites tonight and were amazed or either freaked out. The first time you see them, it is really cool. It looks like a space train. Honestly, the first time I saw them, I'm like, that is the coolest and weirdest thing I've ever seen. But let me tell you a little bit about them, because the reason that they're visible sometimes and not other times, and why they can be kind of a surprise, is kind of a little bit about how they're launched. So let's talk a little bit about what we saw tonight. Many of you saw pictures like this on your social media, or maybe you saw them in person. This was some pictures sent to me on my social media. You can see the various pictures I have, even some pretty amazing video. This video in particular, I'll play here. You can see how vivid it is. That's what it looks like. It looks like a bunch of tiny dots. I call it a space train, but that's what it looks like. It is really, really cool to see close up. Now, we have a chance tomorrow night to see them again, and they likely will be just as visible as they were tonight. So 6:22 tomorrow night, and this will be all across the southeast. So anybody in the southeast, just not the Charlotte area, roughly around 6:22. They'll be visible for 6 minutes, max height of about 52 degrees. Same direction. They're coming from the southwest, moving to the northeast. Now, if you're not familiar with what the Starlinks are, there are literally about 2,000 of them in orbit right now across the planet. These are SpaceX launch satellites that are eventually going to be in low orbit and provide broadband internet access for every square inch of the earth. Basically, you're going to have a little satellite dish, and even if you're in the middle of the woods, out in the middle of the ocean, you're going to get like fiber optic internet speeds. They plan to launch like 20 to 30 to 40,000 of these. Now, all of these aren't visible. You'll see some of the new chains. You'll see one down here. This is actually one that's coming up from the south. The chains that they're like you saw tonight is what they look like after launch. They kind of orbit that way for a while until they space themselves out, and then eventually they're not visible anymore because, one, they're spaced out, but they also orient themselves so they don't catch the sun's reflectivity. So here's another view, and the one we were seeing tonight, I'll show you. I'll pull up the most recent one, which was launched. This will actually show us where it's at right now. It's way down here. So this was the chain that came through tonight. I can see where it is all the way down there. There's 48 satellites in that little cluster. So over the next couple of weeks, these will spread themselves out, and they'll get farther and farther apart until eventually they are spread out really wide, like all of these satellites, and then they can provide internet access. Now, if you've never seen these deployed, here's video from SpaceX YouTube channel. If you want to go check it out, I'll post the link later. But this is what it looks like when they're sent out. So remember the rocket launch last night? This is what they launched. 48 of these were on that ship that took off from Cape Canaveral last night, as well as a couple other areas of payload. So watch these launch. It's pretty cool. So you'll see 48 of these going out there. They're actually in 2 rows of 24, and then they spread out. But that's what they look like when they're launched out. And this was an hour and 4 minutes after launch. So it's pretty cool to see them move out. Now, why do they become invisible over time? Well, you could imagine if there's these many satellites orbiting the Earth, and you're an astronomer, it's not great to have them blocking the night sky. If we had these things zigzagging all over the sky, we wouldn't see anything. So SpaceX is kind of making them almost invisible. They're using something called a Sunshade now, which basically is like a little thing that you have like the blind in your car. These things deploy and they protect the basically the reflectivity off of the solar arrays, so we don't see them. They still allows the solar arrays to work, the solar panels, but it doesn't glint or cause us to see them. So these basically what they call antenna mitigation on station. These little shades will block the sunlight and prevent the reflectivity. So over time, we will not be able to see these again. So that's why it's kind of important to kind of look at them right after launch. And the next pass is coming up tomorrow night. And again, it's kind of cool to track these. Now, if you're wondering when they're going to fly over, tonight was kind of a surprise because we didn't know the orbit until after they were up there and the launch took place. So it was kind of a surprise. I was able to track them tonight on Heavens Above, which is a great site. There's a lot of Starlink tracking apps out there. But just like anything, you got to go to it frequently to check it out or turn reminders on. But trust me, I will always post updates on this stuff when and if I know they're going to pass overhead. But they're pretty cool. These Starlink satellites, there's going to be 40,000 of them. And there's already people using this as internet access here across the U.S. You can see how it's set up in parts of the U.S., including parts of the Carolinas. So that's what you saw tonight, and we'll get a chance to see it again tomorrow. if you're out and about and we have clear skies, I'll have my camera set up ready to watch the Starlinks fly over the southeast again.